I think they made a fatal mistake in killing off Newt and Bishop, and you fight so hard for these people to survive, and then you go to the next movie kind of, those guys, I like those guys, they fought so hard, they're warriors, and then, but they're all dead. You can only hit the audience in the face with a 2x4 so many times before they kind of, detach emotionally. So I consider that to be a brilliant failure.
Well, let me ask you something. What did I do to make you disrespect me, huh?
What?
Oh, what, you think I'm an idiot? Some kind of bozo?
No, sir, not at all.
I saw what you did in Terminator Dark Fate, and you said you hated that cliche in Alien 3, you big fucking idiots.
Really? They said that?
You lied to me!
I didn't mean to. Okay, honestly.
No one makes me look like a fool! No one!
I wouldn't dream of doing that to you.
Hey everyone, it's Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie rant. And this movie rant is gonna be for a popular movie that got released this weekend. Apparently one of those blockbusters for years. And that's gonna be James Cameron's newest flick. But that newest flick is actually a sequel to a film he made before. To one of the most overrated movie of all time. Behind Titanic. And that is Avatar: The Way of Water, or as I should call this movie, Avatar: The Way of Piss. What kind of piss? The way of blue monkey piss, the way of Na'vi piss, the way of whale piss, the way of human piss, any kind of piss. Piss that the Na'vi swim in. That kind of piss. But what's the plot of this film? Well, Jake Sully, the unlikable prick, lives with his newfound family formed on the extraterrestrial moon Pandora. Once the familiar threat returns to finish what was previously started, Jake must work with Neytiri and the army of the Na'vi race to protect their home. So how was this made? Well, in 2006, if Avatar was successful, Cameron was going to make 2 sequels to the film. And then in 2010, because Avatar was such a widespread success, became the highest grossing movie of all time, that ended up happening. The sequels were going to be released on 2014 and 2015. It was going to include certain scenes in the first film for future story follow-ups, but Cameron planned to shoot the sequels back-to-back to begin work once the novel was nailed down. And he stated the sequels would widen the universe while exploring other moons of polyphemus. The first sequel would focus on the ocean of Pandora and feature more of the rainforest. He intended to capture footage for the sequel at the bottom of the Mariana Trench using a deep-water submersible. Then in 2011, Cameron stated he was working to design the ocean ecosystem of Pandora and the other worlds to be included in his story. His storyline, while continuing the environmental theme of the first film, would not be strident since the film would concentrate on entertainment. The sequels were confirmed as continuing to follow the characters of Jake and Neytiri about December 2009, and Cameron implied that the humans would return as the antagonists of the story. And then he said his intention in 2011 was to do sequels at a higher frame rate than the industry standard, 24 frames per second, in order to make at a heightened sense of reality. Then in 2013, he announced the sequels would be filmed in New Zealand, with performance capture to take place in 2014. An agreement with the New Zealand government required at least one world premiere to be held in Wellington and at least NZ $500 million to be spent on production activity in New Zealand, including live action filming and visual effects. The New Zealand government announced it would raise its baseline tax rebate for filmmaking from 15% to 20%, with 25% available to international productions. And then Cameron mentioned a possible third sequel for the first time in 2012, and confirmed it the following year. And Cameron's then looking to release Avatar 2 in 2015, but then production was rescheduled for 2014, with the film to be released in December 2016, and be followed by the 2 other sequels in 2017 and 2018, and then by 2015, They were delayed again by another year, with the first sequel expected to be released in December 2017, and this was due to the writing process, which Cameron called a complex job. In the following month, Fox announced a further release delay, and in February 2016, production of the sequels was scheduled to begin in April 2016 in New Zealand. Then in April 2016, Cameron announced there'd be 4 Avatar sequels, all of which would be filmed simultaneously, and the 4 Avatar sequels share a $1 billion budget. Oh my god. So yeah, basically, this film had so many damn delays. Many more films kept going on to the $2 billion gross, like Force Awakens in 2015, Avengers Infinity War in 2018, and then Avengers Endgame in 2019, which temporarily beat Avatar's ass in records, but then some weird frickin' reason, Cameron decided to do one more damn re-release, anyway in China, just so he could reclaim his stupid record. Clearly did it for that reason. So yeah, the film's theatrical release has had way too many damn delays, and the latest occurred on July 2020. Then Avatar, after all the delays and finally getting to release the film, Avatar The Way of Piss premiered in London on December 6, 2022, and it was released this week on December 16, 2022. And 3 more sequels are obviously going to follow in 2024, 2026, and 2028, but the latter 2 would depend on the commercial reception of The Way of Piss. But obviously, the film received mostly positive response from critics, who praised the visuals, performances, and world setting, although the screenplay and runtime were met with some criticism. As for my reaction, I saw this movie Saturday night, and I gotta say, it was wickedly good! It was the best movie of 2022. It was the best James Cameron movie ever. So much better than The Terminator, Aliens, T2, The Abyss, and True Lies, and even better than the Batman, Top Gun, Maverick, and every other movie this year. Oh my god, this movie changed my entire outlook of life. Really? No! Ha! Tricked you. This movie was fucking terrible. Oh my god. I thought the first one was bad, but shit. This movie was even more boring as balls. Was the 3D visuals good like last time? Yeah, fine, I'll admit that. The 3D water effects and visuals were still decent and improved from the first one, and the story thankfully wasn't some cliched knockoff of Pocahontas, but it did not make this movie any better. The first movie was 162 minutes long, but this movie is 19 fucking 2 minutes way too long. And now Cameron says it's alright to get up and go to the bathroom, and it's good to be 3 hours. Yeah, it's good to be 3 hours if you have a valid reason to. You think Lord of the Ring, suddenly think your movie's gonna be Lord of the Rings and Endgame all of a sudden? No, you're not. You're not any of those. Speaking of the latter, I lost respect for James Cameron this year further, because he said something about a good part of your body being a toxin. Wow, dude. I don't know whatever the hell went, but you're a bloody moron to think that shit. Now we all remember, guys, everybody left the first movie with Quaritch dead, the military being expelled from Pandora, and Jake permanently transferred to his avatar body, and Earth dying because of his stupidity. For the sequel, James Cameron chooses probably the even least more imaginative path to travel. Years pass by before Quaritch is back conveniently in avatar form for some weird fucking reason, and is hell-bent on vengeance against Jake. Nothing else motivates his actions. Jake is his sole focus, and he's happy to spend a fair bit of military resources to get his revenge. So in a way, we decided to do the Palpatine-seek Rise of Skywalker bullshit and bring him back to life. In a new kind of way without any explanation. How the fuck is he even able to possess an avatar body if he's dead? Then they did the shit with Smith in last year's Piss Erections. Look, Quaritch was the only likable character in the first one, but if a character dies, you leave them fucking dead. You don't bring them back to fucking life because fans liked them. No, if they die, they're dead. What part of dead did they not understand anymore? Focus on a different human character, a relative of his wanting revenge for Quaritch's death. No, they had to do the Rise of Skywalker bullshit. They had to do the Piss Erections bullshit. And meanwhile, on the other hand, our unlikable prick Jake is playing the family man and leader of his clan facing the arrival of new human militia in Pandora when he hears about Quaritch being back and decides to escape to the sea where a different Na'vi clan resides. So basically, he abandons his own frickin' tribe. Him and his family all abandon their own frickin' tribe, pretty much has to go against to promise to her dying dad to protect the Almaty Canyon tribe when he got killed by the home tree's destruction. What follows is almost 3 hours following the Sully family by the sea and with mostly gorgeous visuals, but empty storytelling and plot points that are clearly just setups to the many sequels Cameron wants to do. Jake's adopted daughter has inexplicable powers, his son's befriends a whale, and the movie then spends a fair bit of time showing the viewer how hunting animals is bad. And speaking of this adopted daughter of his, it's literally voiced by Sigourney Weaver with a voice disguise. Like, no, Sigourney, we can tell it's you. We can literally tell it's you. Stop trying to hide your voice. Yeah, and this adopted daughter was actually born from Grace's avatar. How the hell did Grace have kids? They never explained that in the first one. And not once does Jake, who, by the way, doesn't even mature in this movie, and is actually definitely still the unlikable prick he was in the first movie, reflect on the fact that he was once human, and the movie never discusses the internal conflict that may arise since Jake is fighting humans for the most part. His relationship with Neytiri is even barely visited. And so basically, Neytiri doesn't even do a single thing this whole movie, and is criminally underutilized and reduced to simply shouting or crying for a majority of her lines. The whole entire movie is basically her either shouting or just having some kind of cry face. She doesn't even appear in much of the film. And what is really regrettable was the narrative. The plot was simply enough to write in just one line. The confrontation structure is also simpler than the previous one, and the characters are once again super boring, and I wasn't interested in any of them. So in the end, you really can't differentiate between the two sons, because they basically have the same look and character. It tries so hard to be emotional, but fails to succeed, because of the lack of care for the protagonists. Like, speaking of his sons, his youngest son, Loak, is probably also unlikable prick junior, because basically he constantly goes against the clan's wishes, further causes trouble for his siblings, and pretty much gets his older brother killed. Yeah, the oldest son of them dies in this movie. Because we need to have some pretentious, sad, depressing death. Like, wow. Oh my god. Stop making me look like I'm supposed to give a shit about these douchebags. I don't. The even worse thing about this flop was that it didn't feel like the blue douchebags. Instead, they acted more like human. Might as well painted the human blue. And we have this other character named Spider, who's apparently Quaritch's son. Yeah, who the hell names their fucking kid Spider? Great. It should never been put there. First of all, he seems so misfit with the Avatar, he acts more like the Na'vi people than the actual ones. And third, he is so irritating. And fourth, it looks weird and less likely that he could go around like them no matter how adopted he was. And the plot is so bad, like basically just having Jake run away from his own tribe he's supposed to be leading with his family. Like, why didn't... I thought Taruk Makto was supposed to unite all the clans and better prepare themselves. And even have human scientists helping them too that were allowed to stay in Pandora. Like, did Jake not know Sky People may come back? Did not even consider it? Or they were able to unite 2,000 a day during the first war, but nothing happened for years? What if after they fled, the people they left behind were questioned and killed, asking for their whereabouts? What sense does it make? Really? None! Yeah, once again, like, don't even get me started on how they bring back Miles as a villain. They couldn't find another one? Okay, he's brought back, but the weaker version than the first. How did that make sense? Like, he warned Jake twice to come alone or else he would kill his children or both the time. His wishes are not met, obviously, and both the time he could keep his words, but no, it's just empty threats. And like, James Cameron, I believe, even said that unlike superhero movies, the stakes are truly high here and no one is safe. Like, is that a joke? Only one person who is in poor relationship-wise but not significant in character development or screen time dies, or it's one way or another. There's always miraculous escape, more weird saves than superhero films, and dude, the reason why some superhero films are more successful than your shitty-ass first movie is because the characters aren't annoying pricks. You actually can, or if they are, they go for character development in the ones I've seen that have even almost beat your movie at the box office. Dude, there's a reason some movies are still getting praise, unlike yours. and why people don't take it seriously anymore. Like for Sandra's scene, Jake and Tyrion and Brute stroll in the sand and swim in the sparkling piss. The Sully kids flirt and bicker with the mere kids, some rudimentary dialogue, mostly made up of words bro and cuz. One of Jason's bonds with a lonely whale, and everyone spouts New Age hippie platitudes, along with solemn lessons on the history and geography of Pandora. It's like the irritatingly idyllic gap year social media posts of someone you hardly know, or re-edited The Return of the Jedi, in which Luke, Han, and Leia hang out in the Ewok village for hours on the end. Which would be better than the sequel trashology, I'll give it that. Some Avatar fans are basically promised this Vietnam War allegory with echoes of Philip K. Dick's mind-bending science fiction. What you get is a tween vapid tale of a boy and a whale splashing around together. Like such spectacular interludes and also contribute to the film's numbing leisurely slowness, and the way of water clocks in at 192 minutes, which is half an hour more than the first film. And after the opening scenes when the humans land Pandora, the story has barely moved on at all. In 3 hours, the plot amounts to the Sullys going off on their family vacation, Quaritch finding them, and having a climatic yet small-scale sea battle. And that's it. There are no complicated military strategies or challenging conversations or nuanced characters. The Terminator even had more personality than anyone in the way of piss. And any non-whale related storylines are left unfinished. One of Jake's children, for instance, is somehow the biological daughter of Grace, who was killed in the last film, but where's her father? They didn't even mention her father in this film. Now can she communicate telepathically with the wildlife of Pandora? You won't find out here because The Way of Piss is now officially part of a Lord of the Rings style continuing franchises, so it doesn't bother to stand up on its own. But even Lord of the Rings was a better franchise than these two films ever will be. And in the first film, you know the Sky People, they were about to mine some metal. Now what they are after is basically whale brains that stop humans from aging. And now they want to basically build a city in Pandora so they could colonize in it. That's cool, but since that was told, it was irrelevant to the story. Would rather see some rich guy getting his whale brain juice to stop himself aging. A character like that could have made a good villain, and now the villain is the same Quaritch guy in the first film. Even though he's supposed to be dead. Like, my god. Oh yeah, there's also actually a third kid in this movie that Jake and Atiri have. A younger daughter. She just exists to get lost or kidnapped and also doesn't do shit. So all she does exist is to be some kid that gets lost or kidnapped, and that's it, or put in danger. And ultimately, there's a lot of ideas thrown into the film that aren't even explored or thought through. There are many elements that are brought up and then never mentioned or are relevant again. There's just too many characters that seem interesting but don't really have room to develop in the story and remain in the background without us really getting to know them. The dramaturgy is often very convoluted. For example, the main antagonist disappears from the screen for almost an hour, while the story takes on a completely different pace and feel, and suddenly drops back in the story at the beginning of the third act. Okay, anyways, so free fanboys go riding on me for not liking the sequel, because, so many fanboys this was the best movie of the year, one of the best films of the year so much. This film was visually a masterpiece. What the fuck did you guys watch? All we got was a movie that made your so-called happy ending pointless and waited 10 damn years too long, and then people fucking applaud it. Yay! They fucking applauded that Karen basically took a shit on the so-called first movie's happy ending for the naughty. Just took a shit on all that. But anyway, I'm gonna say the good quiets before you guys go riding at me, for those who do like the first film. First off, visually and effect-wise, it's perfect. Numerous expensive blockbusters are released every year, but fewer given the time Avatar 2 is clearly given. And it looks leagues better than any $1 million+ movie released in the last few years. The 3D is great, and I find stunning new areas of Pandora to explore, thanks to the extensive underwater scenes. And the story-wise, yeah, the story is not nearly as predictable and cliched like a Pocahontas story as the first one did. And if anything, which was one of the first movies criticisms for borrowing way too much from other bad environment kids movies. And introducing child characters kind of made me think of Aliens and Terminator 2, which were still good compared to this. The parts of the action scenes in Avatar 2 look like a little familiar to anyone who's seen Titanic, The Abyss, or even The Terminator. And performance-wise, Stephen Lang's Quaritch was more developed better as a character, but his return was still not needed, alongside Sigourney Weaver's depiction as Curious, since she doesn't act like a teenager that much. I wish I could see more of... We literally don't even see much in Neytiri either, and I wish we could have seen more of Neytiri more. And then, hopefully, like, I don't think Cameron's gonna acknowledge that criticism, but hopefully he fixes that, and then, of course, we have fucking Spider. Jack Champion as Spider was probably the worst performance in this whole film. He was difficult for me to understand as a character. Like, what kind of fucking name is Spider for a kid? Whoever came up with that name of the character clearly just read a Spider-Man comic, because the person writing these kids' names seems like a freaking idiot. Like, if you're gonna name a character Spider. And the good qualities I mentioned aren't even enough to save the movie, and I think this is definitely one of the worst films I saw this year. You know, why is this even called The Way of Water? I have it even better than that title than The Way of Piss. You know what this movie should have been called? James's Last Chance. Yeah. No, Cameron's Last Chance. Yeah, this film should have been called Avatar 2. Cameron's Last Chance. And it fucking failed. I don't ever want to see another Cameron movie in my life. Like, Cameron, don't make any more films. Unless people want me to rewatch the next Avatar sequels that are obviously going to happen. Cameron, don't make any... Just retire. Don't make any more fucking movies after this. Titanic sucked. Avatar 1 sucked. Sanctum sucked. Dark Fate or Crap Fate or Dark Woke sucked. I'll watch The Terminator and T2, Aliens, The Abyss, and True Lies, and that's about it. Like some of you don't even remember, like, they didn't even approve Jake at all. He's still the annoying prick who basically endangers his own clan by leaving them. Like, okay, hold on a minute. Like, you all remember, like, this was pretty much the same guy that got two female characters from the first one, Grace and Trudy from the first one, killed. Like, yeah, speaking of, like, Sky people getting revived, why the fuck didn't they... Like, shouldn't they have revived Trudy in Avatar body if they could revive Quaritch? Apparently. No, we just abandoned Trudy. We forgot Trudy even existed in the first one, but now... You guys should, anytime you watch the first one, you'll just remember, this guy abandoned his clan. Yeah. And killed those two female characters from the first one, because of how much of a dumb fuck he was. So in the end, if you hated the first movie, you'll hate this even more, and I would avoid it if that's the case for you. But if you did like the first one, for those of you who watched my videos but loved the first one, you'll probably tolerate or decently enjoy this. Anyway, that's it for my review of The Way of Piss. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Way of Piss, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are unhappy at seeing the douchebag blue monkeys again, then please don't bother with this, because it's not any better than last time in any way. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Way of Piss, I'm going to give The Way of Piss a 4 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my review for The Way of Piss. And now that I've reviewed The Way of Piss, it'll be finally time to make the worst movies of 2022 video. So yeah, I can't wait to do that. I'm gonna have to see where Way of Piss will be ranked on this list. But yeah, until then, guys, that'll be it for this rant. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.